My name's Jack Noakes and I run a 700 hectare property with my family in Young in southern New South Wales. We were full-time merino wool producers up until 8 years ago, until we made the switch into prime lamb production and prime dame production using the LambPro prime line system. We run merinos on this place for up to 50 years until the wool decline in the late 1980s. We've done everything to improve our bottom line with merinos. We were side sampling young ewes using top-notch genetics. We were even scanning when scanning first come out on merinos, lambing in smaller mobs. I just couldn't improve that bottom line. As the wool decline got worse, I decided that the world needed to be fed and not clothed. So we went down the path of looking for other options into the meat game, and we found a system from LambPro at Holbrook that would suit our needs. Then after a visit to New Zealand to see how they run their properties over there and understanding what they could achieve, I was on a plane flying back over, juggling with the idea of how to tell my father that the merinos were going and the meat sheep maternals were coming in as a self-replacing meat sheep system. After looking at many options in the lamb industry, I decided that LambPro was the best option for me. So I headed down to Tom Bull at LambPro at Holbrook and purchased a number of maternal rams and brought them up here and joined them to my merinos. The merino was my base at that stage. Therefore, the switch had been made in our enterprise. The changes in management from merino to a self-replacing meat sheep flock gradually evolved over the next 2 or 3 years, understanding better nutrition with the meat sheep and especially getting new lambs to weight and getting a good understanding of achieving higher scanning results, nutrition and getting them to lamb down as 1-year-olds was a learning curve for me in itself. But we got our head around it and got a good understanding of how to do it. Now we're 7 years down the track. The management is getting easier and easier and the whole system is a lot easier for me, and it's just a joining date, lambing date. I know exactly where I'm up to and which way I'm going. Our whole system now evolves around prime line over prime line. I kill the weather lambs at an 18 to 23 kilo dress weight, retain young ewes for breeders for the future, and then sell excess ewes as prime lamb dames into the lamb industry within the network of LambPro. I'll just go through a few management things we use here now. Basically our mature ewes from 2-tooth or 2-year-old to 6-year-old are joined on the 1st of February for a 35-day join. The fertility of these animals is second to none. Most of them 75% join in the first cycle, with a few in the second cycle, which makes things a lot easier down the track. The ewe lambs are joined about March 15. They have got to be a good 7 months of age and around that 50 kilo live weight to join. One of the management practices with ewe lambs is getting ewe lambs to weight. If the season is in your favour and the spring continues on, have no problem getting these ewe lambs to weight to 50 kilos for joining in March. But if the spring decides to turn the other way, introduction of grain and using grain to get ewe lambs to weight is our option. That's either with grain in the paddock or we put them in a quite elaborate feedlot we have set up here to get them up to weight, to get them off the paddocks. Our mature ewes over the last 5 years has averaged a scan result of 170%, and our ewe lambs scan result average is 121%. If you get the nutrition right and make sure condition score is spot on, there's no reason why these animals will not join. To me, in this system, I call it the rabbit theory. If you have 1,000 mature ewes that weigh 140%, the following year you will have 750 ewe lambs, which brings your number next year to join of 1750. In the merino days, it was quite the opposite. We couldn't join sheep until they had a good 2 teeth in their head, so that's why the system works so well for us. It gives us options down the track. When these animals lamb, their mothering ability is second to none. I was so used to merinos doing their thing, when we got down the track with genetics further and further, I couldn't believe the maternal instincts of these animals. They're just bred to lamb. The New Zealand background was paramount to what they are able to do. Ewe lambs management is probably the hardest part of the whole system, but after you've been doing it a while, it becomes quite simple. It's just a matter of general sheep husbandry. As we used to look after young breeders in the merino game, we do the same thing, although these ewe lambs are in lamb by the time they're 9 months of age. We scan the ewe lambs, and anything that's dry goes to the abattoirs because they're no good in this game unless they've got a lamb inside them. And usually the meat job at that stage is pretty strong. Also, you are selecting for fertility at such a younger age. Your ewe will have 15% more lamb through its lifetime if it joins as a ewe lamb. The mature ewes management starts at weaning in about November or late October. When we wean, we condition score all ewes, which is the main driver of our operation, making sure that condition score is up over 3 to 3.5 going into a summer. Because we're a February 1 joiner, we want to maintain condition score, and these sheep are very good at doing that kind of stuff. Then, after joining, we put rams in at about 1.5 to 100. We join them up for 35 days, and then we scan them when the scannings needs to be done, and we twin and single all these animals. Most years we achieve 70 to 75% multiples, and we manage these animals with nutrition in that manner. So basically the singles get the rough end of the deal, and the majority are twinners, so they get the better feed and better nutrition, which is very important in this system. Coming up into lambing, early trimester, I hang them off the feed a little bit. Mid-trimester, they get a bit more, and I'll build up into the last 6 weeks of nutrition for the twin-bearing mature ewes. I give them as much as they can have, or the best system, or the best possible feed I can give them. Not too long, not too short, halfway up your boots, perfect feed for sheep to be more efficient. About a week out of lambing, we actually split the mobs in because of the size of our property to 20 hectares paddocks to 30 hectare paddocks. We're able to split these twinning mobs into mobs of no more than 150 and lamb them down on 12 to 1400 kilos of dry matter, which is quite important when you are lambing down twin bearing or sometimes triplet ewes. When we do the marking and the weaning is all done in one hit, and it all depends on how the season is going. We let them go through to about 12 to 13 weeks before weaning, depending on what the season is doing. The marketing of our progeny is done in a number of different ways. I use a private agent, and they go to the best price abattoir at the time, and there's never been a problem killing prime line wether lambs in any different abattoir. The ewe lambs are managed in a different way. I actually join mature ewes who are the better genetics and keep them for my own replacements, and the other ones who are just as good as genetics are marketed in a number of different ways. We have quite a few options we can go with. One option is join them and sell them joined as ewe lambs in around June. The other option is the LambPro ewe lamb sale in January, which is an individual LambPro ewe lamb sale that is an Auctions Plus. So you know, if you're buying prime lines, you know exactly where they come from and all their genetic upbringing and where they come from. That's the beauty of this LambPro system, the options that are out either side. Also with the LambPro system, one of the main things that I like is that keeping the flock an in-house flock, where you're never ever buying sheep in, which certainly keeps your biosecurity with feet, yonies and lice at bay. You're always the seller and never the buyer. You're just buying a few rams and you're always selling the progeny out the other end.